What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, Drunken Fiancée thought she had a guaranteed ring until she was recorded at the Bachelorette party. So many stories like this. At every Bachelorette party, at least one girl cheats on her man, boyfriend, husband. So many times it's the fiancé. Let's get to it.
Now here's a short story which backs up that guys not only need to be on the lookout and careful with the single MOMs, they ought to watch out for the just regular single gals that don't have any kids, especially if you as a man have your own child. Because a lot of times these gals will come in and they're going to be the stepmother, and it turns out, well, the wicked stepmother stereotype is quite accurate. That's why so many fairy tales and stories were written about them. And they may get together with you and act like they like your kid, but they really can't stand your kid, and it's going to be a nightmare for them. You must always watch out for that. And in this story here, this guy dodges a big one with regards to the gal he was going to marry when his friend, female friend, lets him know what was going on with the recording. Title: Am I the a-hole for recording my friend's fiancé at her bachelorette party and playing the recording for him? It says here, I was invited to the bachelorette party for my friend's fiancé. It was over the long weekend at a vacation rental on the beach. There was booze, a hot tub, great food. It was definitely a hit. At one point, I was on the deck looking at the ocean, and the bride was drunk in the hot tub with two of her friends.
The factor clearly gets active lifestyles. They're developed by dietitians and prepared by chefs, so they're actually good. And they're ready.
She said she felt more relaxed than she had in a while. I assumed she was referring to the wedding planning. One of her friends asked if she was having trouble with the little monster, and she said no, that he was manageable for now. At that point, I realized they were talking about my friend's son, and I took out my phone and started recording the conversation. This story kind of proves why it's ideal that every guy has a female friend, and I want to point out, I have little use for female friends, but on occasion, they definitely prove useful, certainly in a situation like this that can, absolutely they got your...
The fiancé, when you're drunk, the truth comes out. Her fiancé has a little son. Her soon-to-be husband has a son.
Friends. She said she felt more relaxed than she had in a while. I assumed she was referring to the wedding planning. One of her friends asked if she was having trouble with the little monster, and she said no, that he was manageable for now. At that point, I realized they were talking about my friend's son, and I took out my phone and started recording the conversation. This story kind of proves why it's ideal that every guy has a female friend, and I want to point out, I have little use for female friends, but on occasion, they definitely prove useful, certainly in a situation like this that can, absolutely they got your back. This is all we can all...
Most females, why do guys have female friends? I have no idea. Why? They're only good for one thing, and that's fucking and sucking.
All hooked for this, and they can obviously screen accurately other gals, no ill intention, and obviously for things like this.
Soon to be.
Well, the bride's friend said horrible stuff about my friend's son, and the bride responded positively to everything, laughing and agreeing. Then she said that it was too bad he wasn't old enough to send to military school. I stopped recording when their topic changed. I don't think they even realized I was close enough to hear them. So this dude is marrying this chick, and she obviously acts like, okay, I like the kid, or I'm tolerating him. But meanwhile, she's talking trash about him, and literally, too bad he's not old enough, I'll send him to military school. You guys, you can't marry someone like this. It's going to make a horrible situation for your kid, whether it's a boy or a girl. Yeah. And what if this guy married her not knowing about this? Well, thank God this chick was here to record this. When we got back, I asked to meet with my friend, and I played him the recording. He was quiet while he listened. After the recording was finished, he asked me to send it to him, which I did. Then he asked me to delete it, which I said I would do, but haven't yet. I feel like an a-hole for interfering. I really do. However, I'm worried about my friend's son. Depending on what my friend does, I might need to send his recording to the poor boy's family. I feel like I've overstepped, but what else can I do? Was I being the a-hole? No, you weren't at all. You were helping your friend. And before I continue on how this ends, and I want to point something out. A lot of you are probably thinking, like I was at first, oh, she's probably just in love with this guy. What if she's sabotaging things because she wants to be with him? Well, you find out in the comment section, she is a lesbian. And how they're friends, I don't know. But regardless, so there's no romantic things going on here.
The friend is a lesbian.
Okay, and also, she has the recording. And it wasn't an AI thing. She actually recorded them saying.
She's gonna. Hopefully they didn't get married. I forget the title. There's so many women out there that I guarantee this guy is really good looking, or he has a lot of money, but they're willing to date them and marry them because they're really good looking, or they have a lot of money, even if they have a kid. They just boss them around. I'm gonna get too heated.
And that's about his son. So no, she's not the a-hole. She's helping him, and that's why, I'm sure many of you guys have seen people you cared about getting bad relationships, and you're kind of like, do I say something? Because you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you say something to your friend,
say something.
Even with good evidence, they lash out at you because you're trashing their romance, their relationship. On the other hand, if you don't say anything and they stay with that individual and all hell breaks loose, then they get hurt. But no, she's not the a-hole for doing that. Now the update. She says, yesterday, Friday afternoon, I got a text from my friend asking me to block his fiance's phone number. Uh-oh.
Delete me. The internet can be a crazy place, but you know what? It's full.
Another ad.
Data brokers are.
I'm not paying YouTube for ad block.
I was a bit thrown off by the request and asked if everything was okay. He said he couldn't talk right now and asked me to please just block the phone number.
I would.
So I blocked the number. I have this weird glitch on my Android Auto where if a blocked number calls me, it shows up in my recent calls as a missed call on my car screen, even though on my actual phone it doesn't ring at all. Well, later on that day I was driving and saw a ton of missed calls from her. There were so many, you see what my car will show me, I kept the number blocked. Well, I guess the fiancé connected the dots where it came from. But yeah, she's probably called and yelled and screaming and all that. Look, and by the way, I guarantee you, when he confronts her about this, I guarantee she'd say I was drunk. I was drunk. And
that's when the truth comes out.
And blamed it on her friends and all that type of thing.
Three things. If you want the truth, and this isn't me making, I heard this a long time ago. If you want the honest to God truth, you ask someone when they're really drunk, you ask little kids, or you ask old people. They will give you the honest to God truth. No filter. If you want the truth, ask someone who's really drunk, ask a little kid, probably like 3 to 5 years old, or an old person, probably like in their 80s, 90s. They have no filter. They'll tell you the truth. And she was drunk. She's got no excuse.
Says here, later my friend's best friend, who was supposed to be the best man, called me and asked me if I had heard from our friend. I said yes, and I asked why. He sent me a screenshot from the Fiancée's Facebook talking about how people show their true colors and saying she was newly single. I tried to call my friend, but he didn't answer. So alrighty, they're done. And she's making out to be his fault. People show you their true colors. And of course, given this day and age, nothing happens unless you post on social media for a bunch of attention. And I like the vague thing of how people show you the true colors. And people will do these vague posts being coy, hoping that people will comment, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I'm sure many of you guys have seen this crap. Never fall for that. Well, tonight I finally heard back from my friend. The long and short of it is that he asked her about how she feels about his son. She said he's adorable and sweet. My friend then played her the recording, and she asked where he got it. He refused to tell her, saying it shouldn't matter. She immediately guessed it was me. He refused to confirm that. She got angry and that he wouldn't tell her, and that I recorded her conversation, and said she can't trust him anymore. She called off the wedding. Not a great update, but since so many of you were so invested.
She called off the wedding. I hate that part. I was hoping that he would have canceled the wedding. She canceled the wedding. I was hoping it would have been the guy who would have kicked that 304 out the door. But that's a good thing, because that little boy would have grown up. How many years they would have been together, because that 304 would have ended up cheating on that guy anyways. But say it was just like 3 years, 2 years, she would have made that poor little boy's life a living hell whenever she was alone with him. Go to your room, clean your room.
Invested, I thought you'd want to know. So before I read more information from the comments section, because she responds to questions, notice he confronts her about this. She lies. Oh, he's adorable and all that crap. Plays a recording. And instead of like coming clean or apologizing or something, immediately, who sent you that? And it freaks out. And then this whole thing like, oh, well, I can't trust you anymore, and I'm calling off the wedding. So she can have control of the situation, because inevitably
instead of apologizing, because women can't apologize. 80% of women can't apologize, even if they're caught red-handed. This woman, instead of apologizing, even though she was caught red-handed, said, "I can't trust you. The wedding's off." She can't trust the guy with the son who you thought is a little monster. That 304.
he was going to call off the wedding, you know? But holy crap. But this dude dodged a big one here. Thank God to this friend. And again, I've said this a lot of times.
This video right here never really existed. It got over 8 million views. It's one of the first videos that is...
Call me an asshole, I don't care. But just for me, I have very little use for female friends. Pretty much, unless I'm banging them, I'm not hanging out with them. I have ones I'm acquainted with and stuff like that. But I think you get my point. There's no hanging out with and spending time with them. But goddamn, it is useful, at least to have one that you know absolutely there's no conflict of interest, none of those things like that. She's not going to sabotage things because she's in love with you, and can
There's so many females out there, and I've met them. And it's true. There's so many females out there who only have male friends. I knew one back when I was 20 and 21. I'm 45 now. And she banged all 5 of them. I even witnessed one time one of her friends say, "I'm horny, let's have sex." And she was like, "You got a condom?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Let's go." It's never date a woman who only has male friends. That's just one of so many red flags.
It can tell you if some bullshit's going on with somebody you're involved with. That certainly is useful, and it helped this guy out.
There are women out there you can trust. Remember, it's 80% just undateable, just 304, money hungry biatches. And there's women out there who honestly just want to be your friend.
And again, some people could say maybe she was jealous that he would no longer be there for her all the time. Who knows? But I think this is pretty accurate. She was doing this to help her friend. There's no, conflict of interest or other ulterior.
I will say this though, the friend who recorded at the Bachelorette party is a lesbian. If she wasn't, would she have hooked up with this guy friend? Does she want to be with this guy friend? Or she's a lesbian? That's probably why the guy's friends with her. If you want to be friends with a female guys, just make sure she's a lesbian or someone maybe I don't know, trust your gut.
For motives here. But holy crap, but now she blames it on this fiance blames it on this guy. He's the bad guy here. Crazy, but this guy does the big one. So for you single dads out there, be careful, okay? They can act all sweet and everything like that with your kid, always so great, and you find out they hate the stepmom hates his guts, and it makes life a living hell. I'm sure some guys out there had stepmothers that were wicked.
And you hear all these women who are single moms. They're like, I gotta find a man will be good to my son. There's so many men out there who aren't good with children. No. I mean, yeah, that's true, but it's mainly single dads who have to worry. It's mainly single dads who have to worry because you have women out there who have high body counts, who are looking for guys with money, and like sugar daddies even, and they'll do anything, even in this case, put up with a little monster. It's not single moms who are the majority that need to watch out for guys, dating guys who are going to be mean to their son. It's mainly single dads who have to worry about women who are just gonna pretend to like your kid, son or daughter.
Been awful to them, you know. But the dad was so weak and blind and pussy whipped, he wouldn't do anything about it, you know. Which he would deserve an ass kicking for. So he does the big one. Now I'm gonna read some comments here. One of the guy asked, "What was the recording? He never mentioned what she said to make him react, such like that. We only have half the story." And she says, "One of the bride's friends said she wouldn't be able to put up with such a gross kid, to which the bride laughed and agreed it was difficult. Another asked her if she ever wishes he wouldn't come up when he always jumping in the water. She said no, but she also laughed. And I don't think laughter was an acceptable response to such a horrible comment."
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Gross kid, to which the bride laughed and agreed it was difficult. Another asked her if she ever wishes he wouldn't come up when he always jumping in the water.
This is the fiance who said that the kid was a little monster and all that. She's answering questions.
To which the bride laughed and agreed it was difficult. Another asked her if she ever wishes he wouldn't come up when he always jumping in the water. She said no, but she also laughed. And I don't think laughter was an acceptable response to such a horrible comment. Another friend said if her son had stripped naked in public, she would slap him, to which the bride said that she was too shocked to react. My friend's son is 2 years old and sometimes tries to take his clothes off outside because of summer because it's been so hot. I'm assuming they were referring to such an event. Okay, he's 2 years old, and 2-year-olds are going to act like 2-year-olds, and
He's
sometimes
two.
naked because he's too hot. I mean, yeah, it's a lot, but still.
2.
Clearly she's with this guy not because she loves him, or loves the kid, what he can provide to her. Another one says, so she broke it off since he would not tell her. Did she address what she said in the video? This is crazy, let me know. And the chick writing the story says, he didn't give me a word-for-word rundown of their conversation, but from what he told me, once the topic shifted to her wanting to know who recorded her, and never went back to what she said. It sounds a bit like Dargo. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offend. And she says, yeah, it's weird. I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't this. I thought maybe she would say she was taken out of context or something like that, but shifting the topic completely from the son to the recording, that I didn't anticipate. Well, she's a bitch. And instead of her actually owning up to her being a jerk and saying things about the son and all that, she decides to blame the person recording the conversation and say she can't trust this guy. I'm called off the wedding, all dramatically. But anyhow, this guy dodged the big one. So all you fathers out there that have a kid, you're divorced or split up, whatever, and you're a single dad, be very careful. You gotta do your homework. You gotta have spies everywhere to see what she really thinks about your kid before committing. Because you marry someone that really doesn't like your kid, anything's gonna make your life a living hell. It's your kid. You gotta take care of your kid. So there.
Stupid bitch. I hope she gets HIV. Herpes isn't good enough for her. Anyways, the 80% of women out there, they need to be stopped. Story pisses me off. Anyways, please like and subscribe. It means so much to me. I'm working with a 5-inch webcam. I don't got any lighting. I don't got any mic. I'm poor. So please like and subscribe. Like always and forever, take care, be safe, peace everyone.